Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of First Class. I'm your host, Joey Bonsanti. Sitting across from me, as always, my man, my good friend, Tony Vegas. We are approaching one of the best times of the year. Free agency period, just finished up with the combine. We got franchise tags flying all around. There's trades. There's a lot of energy right now. This is kind of where the Jets pull you back in. Would you agree? It's really just really starting to get you pulled back in, get some belief in there, but nonetheless, how you doing, Tony, and how you feeling headed into this free agency week next week?
I'm good, man, and you're totally right. They do tend to, it's like the Godfather quote or the Sopranos quote. Maybe it's once I thought I was out, they pull you right back in. That is the New York Jets in a nutshell. And want to what, man? They're doing it again, right? I'm hearing some names being thrown around. I listen to other Jets podcasts, and it's fun to listen to names like Cam Curl, Leo Chanel. There's a lot of good free agents out there, and my delusional ass is going to convince myself that all of them are going to want to come and play for the Jets under Aaron Glenn. So it's fun, man. It feels like we flew, to free agency. I feel like the Super Bowl was just like a week ago. I don't know if that's just a me thing, but we're doing good. I'm looking forward to getting after it, and we'll give our full thoughts on everything that's transpired, man. A lot's happened.
I know. So we recorded last week, and then a day after, Jermaine Johnson gets traded. I'm like, of course. I think it happened like 9:30 on last Thursday. A move that I wasn't surprised about. I don't think you were surprised about either. They trade Jermaine over to Tennessee. We get Sweat back in return, the big nose tackle, which is a scheme fit for both sides. I think it was pretty telling that Saleh actually traded for him. And it was actually at the time like, hey, do you want to throw in Jamie and Sherwood as well? But no luck there so far. But Jermaine Johnson to the Titans. We get T'Vondre Sweat. What are your initial thoughts on the trade? I know you kind of released a video over on our Twitter, but we won't harp on this too much because it's been almost a week. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, God, it's a great trade for both sides. I think it's fun, right? I think it's a fun player for player swap where you don't typically see that. You never see that in any sport, right? Like I saw the Mets did one, but whatever. I think it's like one of those things where Robert Saleh came into Tennessee and he wants some guys that understand his system, that fit his roles. And I think he got that in Jermaine Johnson. Is he going to be the same player that he was under Saleh in his last year or, his second year? Probably not. He tore his Achilles. He looked pretty slow last year. But, he maybe he can, rack up 6-7 sacks in Tennessee and it'll be great. On the Jets front, T'Vondre Sweat, man, I mean, you have some of these podcasters coming on and calling him, lazy and fat, and they never even met the guy. I think that's fucking crazy to me. But, you get a 24-year-old, true nose tackle, which we didn't have. Harrison Phillips kind of can play that. But, I mean, this guy's like 370 pounds. We haven't had that since, Chris Jenkins.
Yeah, I was going to say Chris Jenkins.
Sione Puha is where my head's going.
Puha was so good.
He was great. And
Harrison, Snacks too.
Snacks Harrison. And all those players, man, you kind of had to keep an eye on their weight, right? That's what comes with being 360, 370 pounds. So, look, he's a scheme fit. They're clearly going to be playing more of that 3-4, and they needed a player like this. And all last offseason, we were talking, Operation Get Fat. They did it on offensive line with Membu, and they did it with Briggs and Phillips. I think this is the final piece to that defensive tackle rotation. Maybe you get one more guy that can kind of attack the quarterback, like a Sheldon Rankins type role, and that would really complete it. But, in terms of stuffing the run and some guys that have a little bit of pass juice, we saw Briggs. I think this is about as good as you can get, especially, after trading Quinnen Williams a couple months ago. So I give it a B+. I think it's, fine. Jermaine Johnson probably didn't have a role here. And he had that famous Saleh mope that he carried with him. Apparently he quietly wanted out. So we all knew quietly. So I would give it a B+. I think it's a win-win trade for both sides. We got a need, they got a need, and, we can go on our merry way.
Another thing a lot of people aren't talking about is his age. He's he came into the league old. He's 28, I think almost 29 or
literally
around there. And again, with the scheme fit not matching up with what the Jets are trying to do. Funny enough, last week I was on the podcast saying it's really not official that the Jets are going to 3-4, but with this trade, it almost looks like it's going to a base 3-4. So I think it's also very telling that the Jets are going edge now, 100% confirmed at number 2 with this pick because now they have Will McDonald and Jermaine, the other side, is gone. I think now the conversation obviously shifts to Reese and Bailey, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I really like the trade for the Jets. I think it's one of those things where you just said, JJ tore his Achilles. He wasn't the same player last year. You typically players need like that gap year almost where you saw like Roger started to play well in Pittsburgh. And I'm sure Jermaine obviously at a different position, one where your Achilles matters almost probably the most in the league. You need that get off. I think Jermaine could have a bounce back year in Tennessee, but for the Jets, like we needed that anchor in the middle of the defense there. And I feel a lot better with him, Sweat. And now you got Phillips there as well and Briggs. Like, they're really building something nice and really goes to show you like credit to Muji and Glenn for building out the defense and setting themselves up for free agency in the draft. So I think it's good. I think it's fair for both sides. I had a lot of salty Titans fans coming after me saying that he had pass rush potential, which is like, listen, like I posted a clip of him pass rushing someone and getting a sack, and I just get completely flamed. And I don't know why we have to be like so hostile towards each other. Like, can we just call it a good trade for both sides and call it a day?
I dealt with some of that too. Some guy, I forget what I tweeted. I think I caused a little bit of a shitstorm with the Titans fans because I was commenting on the trade, and they kind of like linger for a little bit after you like chirp a fan base. So I think I said something about like Kyler Murray, and some Titans fans just like, why would you want to go in that fucking dump city, New York, and live in a shoebox thing? And I'm like, I don't know, man. He's like 28 and probably worth like $100 million. I think it's a little different than you living there, buddy. It's great. It's all in good fun, but
it is. I do feel like I had some, 30 or 40% of the fan base from Tennessee telling me like this kid has been really good. Like you're not going to get like this crazy pass rusher, but you're going to get exactly what he's labeled as, is that run stuffing anchor in the middle of your defense. PFF grades are through the roof on run defense, and I like the message that they're sending and what they're trying to build with the defense. I'm sure Dunbar is thrilled on the defensive side of the ball. So
I trust whatever they're doing on the defensive side, like defensive line specifically, because Carl Dunbar, we're all so high. Everybody in the fan base and in the NFL world is high on Carl Dunbar. It was a great get. And yeah, man, we'll see. Like we said the same thing about Juwan Briggs. We were like, okay, Browns fans were very nice about him. They were like, look, we didn't have space for him and blah, 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 blah. So, hopefully this works out like him. Briggs is a fucking stud, and he's 23, 24, much like Sweat. Sweat is 24, man. And you're right. Jermaine Johnson, old. He's our age. He's old.
Yeah, we weren't going to pick up his option. We were going to extend him. So it really made sense for both sides. I love it.
What if he got hurt? And also, last point, we were not offered a second round pick. That was like confirmed. We could have gotten a third. Which would you rather, a third or Sweat? I don't know.
It's pretty much the same thing, right? So, I mean, a lot of what people were saying, at least in Tennessee, was that he was overdrafted at where he was. I think it was like 38 is where Sweat was taken.
Yeah, he was a high second out of Texas.
I think I'd rather just take Sweat, especially in the defense where, again, any pick in the draft is a lottery ticket. So I'm taking Sweat. He's had 2 years under his belt. And again, he's young, and there is a lot of potential for him to grow in any which way. Hopefully, it pays dividends for the Jets defense. So I'm happy with the trade, as you are. Moving on to some bigger news here. I mean, everyone was honing in on Breece Hall. Was it going to be the transition tag? Was it going to be the franchise tag? We kind of went back and forth about it. Ends up being the franchise tag. Personally, like the move. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Is this what you ultimately thought was going to happen here towards the end of the tag deadline?
I thought they were going to put, the transition tag, but they ultimately end up going with the full franchise, and this doesn't rule out a 3-year deal that he can get. We both predicted 2 years. It sounds like it's going to be 3. And I don't know how it works. Like if we tag him and extend him before a certain point, does that eliminate the tag? I don't know how that works.
If we extend him before,
let's just say they bang out a deal before camp.
Yeah, it's over then. He's not playing
just on a 3-year deal.
Yeah,
okay,
so he's on a 3-year deal. I'm sure they would try to front load it, but whatever.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately going to happen. But you know what, man? I think this shows a level of commitment to him, and good by them, man. They didn't open up another hole, right? If you just let him walk for nothing, like we said, it would have been one of those things where it's like, why didn't you trade him to the Chiefs or pick one? It would have been 109. So ultimately, clearly, Aaron Glenn and co saw room for him to be a piece on this offense for whoever's playing quarterback. And when they ultimately, I think they will hammer out that multi-year contract for 12 million a year, right? I would say about 12 mil. Breece is going to be here until he's 27, and then you let him walk, right? He's not like necessarily. It's not a ton of tread on Breece. I don't think he's someone I'm necessarily worried about like taking a step back anytime soon. I think he is what he is. Good receiving back. Looked very good during spurts of last year, and he's like a B running back, I would say. Like he's a little above average, and to have him either this year if they happen to take like Ty Simpson, or next year when we all think that they're going to take a quarterback in that 2027 class, I think Breece is a good guy to have around, and you can go and find like an RB2 in the draft. Maybe you get like that Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet type of deal and go that route. I think you have the money, use it. And it would suck if we went into next year with Braylon Allen, who sucks. I'm sorry, he sucks. And Isaiah Davis, who's good. He's a good like energy boost off the bench. We're not signing
like Ty Johnson almost.
Yeah, right. So I mean, but that's not like a starting back, right? We have a starting back on the roster. No reason to let him walk. I think it's fine, and maybe he'll maybe Breece will just shut up finally. Like we're committed, dude. We like you here. Chill out.
Yeah, I guess, but we can't change what he wants, and obviously, who knows what he wants at this point? He's always very all over the place on Twitter. We both thought it was going to be transition. At the end of the day, I think the Jets saw how his market was going to be if he actually had a chance to negotiate with another team. I think that was going to be higher. I think they just said, screw it, we'll eat the extra $3 million and we'll just pay him a little bit more to have him this year. And if we could work out a long-term deal, then so be it. He did, of course, take to Twitter seconds after the tag was placed on him and said, always been the type to bet on myself, been working CL soon.
I don't mind that. That's fine.
It almost, to me, tells me that the bet on yourself, he wants to play on the tag. I don't know if...
Yeah, it's a good point. I didn't think about it like that.
I mean, again, the Jets could say, you know what, screw it. We'll just give you what you want. Here's the contract. I don't think that's going to happen. I personally think he's going to end up playing on the tag. And from his standpoint, it would be dumb as hell. I've seen this thrown around a little like, oh, here comes the Breece holdout. Like, I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
He would just be killing himself in terms of contract down the line. He needs this year. This is like probably his biggest year that he'll have for his career in terms of pay. So I think I'm ultimately fine with the decision. Like you said, we're not letting him, we're not opening up another hole. We're just keeping the running back position at bay. We know what Breece is. I do want to say that he isn't, a lot of people are painting him in this light like he's Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson or Saquon Barkley. Like he's not in that tier of running back.
Those are fans of other teams, though, painting him like that. You see all these rankings on like the free agency board, and it kind of makes you take a step back and like, if I'm looking at other teams' pending free agents, I kind of want to be like, wow, they were all really overrating Breece to like that extent where he's like the number 2 free agent, number 3 free agent, all that stuff. When in reality, it's like he's a good back. Like he's not this like you said, he's not fucking Bijan Robinson.
Yeah. So if I had one message to Breece, this is pretty much what I'd tell him.
Don't let go of the rope.
You whipped it out. We were doing it before the show. I love it.
That's my one message to Breece. Don't let go of the rope. We'll keep you here.
I love that.
In New York. And
don't let go of the rope.
That's it.
We have to, use that a million more times, please.
I mean, I am. I will.
We're going to have like Tourette's on...
we will hammer it out over and over and over again. So
yeah.
Overall, though, we're both pretty content with the Breece thing. I would have been pissed off if they let him walk. So some competency. Now, Combine just wrapped up. I know a lot of people are. It really is so crazy. Pre-Combine, and then 4 days later, how many opinions get thrown out there? Like we're talking now, Sonny Styles potentially going to. I know it's the rumors. It's when you see these guys under the spotlight, like you see in Sonny Styles run like a madman all over that field. A lot of people's eyes are drawn to you. Got the Mekhi Lemon like weird stare into the camera, which is like it's just a bunch of weird stuff happens, which for us, hell, I hope that these receivers drop. And, Carnell Tate didn't clock in as fast as people thought he would, which is, it's again, great for the Jets. If we can have a receiver option at 16, that'd be amazing. But what is your overall takeaway, if you have any, from this combine? Anything stick out to you?
I have two major thoughts here, and it's like partly to do with the Sonny style stuff. I think that, and I don't want to talk too much about Arvell Reese. Everybody knows we want to draft Arvell Reese at number 2. Me and you, I'm talking about. I don't know if that's changed for you, but
nope, still there.
I think the reason that Arvell Reese is projected number 2 is because we already know that he's like a fucking sick off-ball linebacker prospect. I mean, watch his tape at off-ball linebacker. There's some plays where he's like, it's like insane. He's like a shadow of like the quarterback on a spy. He's got the running back like dead to right in the backfield, just following. It's insane. His tape there is insane. It like just as good as Sonny Styles, in my opinion. The reason we're going to take Arvell Reese at number 2 and not Sonny Styles is because Reese can also, he has major potential at pass rusher. And, they both ran that 4.46. They both jumped out of the gym exactly like we predicted. And ultimately, you see people that are like, why not just take Styles if he's the best? Because I think in the worst case scenario, Arvell Reese is just as good of an off-ball linebacking prospect as Sonny Styles. But he can do that Micah Parsons weird shit, like Abdul Carter, Micah Parsons, all that. That's why I want him at 2. Okay, so I think I don't want to say bust-proof, but like he's a lot more safe than people are thinking. So that's point 1. Point 2, the receivers didn't help themselves, man. Like, there was something wrong with all of them. Jordan Tyson, what's his number 1 knock? He's always hurt, right? He didn't even test, right? So not the best sign. I think he's going to have his pro day, and there's more to be written on Jordan Tyson. I don't really know where he's going to go right now, but we'll see as, the offseason plays out a little bit. Carnell Tate runs a 5.52, 5.53 maybe. Were people expecting him to run a 4.38? No, but if you ran a 4.46 or something in that neighborhood at 6 foot, I think he's like 6'3", 6'4". He's a big body receiver. If you ran a 4.46, it's like, this guy's a fucking no-brainer pick in the top 10, right? Like, he's clearly T. Higgins. You're getting T. Higgins at this point, who's an awesome NFL receiver. And then Mekhi Lemon apparently bombed his interviews, and he acted like a weirdo, dude. Like, those interviews and his body language at the podium, it was fucking weird. It almost looked like,
dude, who cares though? Like,
I get it, but
this is coming from someone who said he doesn't care what Glenn says at the podium. You want to care what Mekhi Lemon says?
It's not what he was saying. It's just like
the way he was acting.
It was just bizarre. I'm not like chirping. Maybe that's just how he is, man. But like, there was also a clip of him not listening at a drill. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that.
Clearly was not listening and ran the drill incorrectly. Apparently bombed all of his interviews. I'm not here to like shit on Mekhi Lemon. I'm sure he's like a nice guy. But like, just from what I saw as a fan and like what I read on Twitter, he did not come off well as like a personality. But you can make the argument all these receivers have a little diva in them, and not all of them are like, they get on Twitter and they tweet weird shit and all that stuff. Like, some of the best receivers in the NFL do that. So I don't know. I don't think he helped himself. Like, we all know he's a great football player. I don't think he helped himself in terms of interviewing and things like that. So Joey, I really do think that if Ty Simpson doesn't end up being like a lock pick at 16, which I think it might, one of those receivers is going to be there at 16. And if they feel comfortable taking them, like, you should do it. Jordan Tyson's medicals check out, take him. Lemon's personality, you interview him, you liked him, take him. And Carnell Tate, if he's there at 16, I don't care who's there, take him.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to the Lemon stuff. I just thought it was funny. Almost just like, it's going to sound really weird. It was funny. He was like trying to seduce you like through the camera.
It was super weird.
It was just bizarre. Down at you and like really weird, but I don't really have too many. Like, I feel like the combine stuff is always funny to me. Like I said before, I just feel like people have these notions of players. They come in, they run really fast, they jump really high, and all of a sudden things start to shift a little bit. It's like the start of the shift of where, we talked about Simpson at 44 and then moves up to 33.
It's never happening.
And then all of a sudden he's going to be in the top 10. So it just like, you see the slow shift. Like now I've seen some people say like, oh, so you could probably still get Simpson at 33. I think that's just, there's just no way. I just don't see how Ty Simpson's going to be there. I mean, it would be ideal if he was still there in the 20s. You could maybe say, all right, go up and get him. I know I'm not getting off a tangent here, but I don't really think anything changed in my eyes after the combine. Like, seriously, I think my biggest takeaway was that the receivers didn't help themselves. I thought you said it perfectly. And again, 16, I'm still back and forth on. Number 2, I obviously know what I want to do. Take Breece 10 out of 10 times.
By the way, Breece is minus 145 for the second pick. That shifted today. He was plus 125, and David Bailey was plus 150. Bailey moved up, and Reese is minus 125 or whatever it is now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that trade almost. Again, I think you could make your argument for Bailey as well. I just feel like Reese is the better prospect, and I'd be really juiced if they go with him. And then 16, obviously, there's a bunch of ways you can go, right? Like, who's going to be that one player, and it always happens, who ends up dropping, where you're like, all right, we want a receiver, but goddamn, there's this guy at 16 that should not be here, and he is. That always happens.
That's exciting.
It is. It really is. And then in that same light, like, you pick at 16 and maybe that player keeps dropping into the 20s, and now you're like, can we go? Like, that was the Jermaine of a few years ago, where Jermaine we were supposed to take early on, like I think
10.
It was 10. It was the Garrett pick. Yeah. And we traded back up to go into the first round and get him. So, I mean, you know, there's always, man, the draft is such a fun time of the year. We got free agency next week. Like, this is, it's sad to say, it really is our Super Bowl. It's like our playoffs right now. So
I like the way you put that, though, because you're right. 16's a prime spot to pick up one of those receivers that's dropping. And then, dude, if you just sit at 33, there's always a guy where it's like, how the fuck is he still in there in the second round? And he always goes at 20 or 33. I remember when it was T. Higgins, I was like, why the fuck is T. Higgins still there? Same deal with Jaden Higgins last year.
Yep.
6'4" receivers with the last name Higgins. If they're there at number 33, you take them. And we finally have the 33rd pick. So, like, I feel like they have a really real possibility of coming out with like 3 first-round talents and then a nice pick 44. Like, you should get 4 starters, Muji. I trust in you here, man.
I know. And then that's kind of where the Simpson conversation comes in. Is like, you're going to, you know, use these picks on starters to fill holes, and one of those picks could be Ty Simpson. I'm going to lay out a hypothetical situation for you. Let's see if for some reason Ty Simpson does drop to 33. But there's a few players on the board where you're like, I can plug this guy in right here, and he will start day one. You have to be a little bit tempted to want to maybe either pick that player or trade back with someone who really wants to come up and get a quarterback. Would you think?
I think it depends on what you do in free. Like, if you have just Jacoby Brissett and that's it, and Simpson's there at 33, you take Simpson, right? I think you have to. And if it doesn't work out, you burn a fucking second round pick. It sucks, but it is what it is. Like, I don't know. And plus, like, let's just say, I feel like you could recoup a little value if you guys suck, and then, you know, you take a quarterback at 27, maybe Josh Rosen, Simpson, you know, like, if he's there at 33, and I think you have to.
Or someone trades up, gives you a third round or 2.
Yeah, I mean, dude, day 2 of the draft is going to be so much fun.
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome.
It really does feel weird not to have a third rounder this year. Goddamn Hassan Reddick, but it does. So I feel like there's a path where the Jets can finagle themselves into a third round pick. But
I mean, look, dude, like, people scoff at third round picks, man. That was Azaria Thomas, right? Like,
yeah. That's
who you're looking at. We all wanted Kyle Williams, and he went in the third round too. Like, third round picks are no joke. It sucks we don't have one.
I know. I really.
But we got an extra 4th, and I think we have 2 4ths and 2 5ths now. I think so. They can maneuver.
Okay, we're getting pretty heavy this episode. We're 24 minutes in. I want to finish up with some QB talk because people are just so. You want to talk about just insane online. It's the second. I just want to have conversations, man. I'm not saying that I'm going out and Kyler Murray is the best quarterback ever. But, you know, you tweet something out about Kyler Murray just to say.
Lamar. Don't let go of the rope. Sorry.
Why?
Don't let go of the rope.
Thank you.
Why, just because you mentioned Kyler Murray, do people assume that you want him, that you want to sign him, that you think he's the best quarterback ever? Kyler Murray gets released by the Cardinals, and he is obviously going to be the talk for the New York Jets because he's one of the better quarterback options. Him, Tua, right? Those guys are going to be low-cost quarterbacks that are not going to cost you draft picks. It's not a Mac Jones. It's not a Tanner McKee. It's not a Davis Mills. It's you just pay him the vet minimum and you get him. What is your take as of today on Kyler Murray? I've seen the fan base on Twitter right now is going at it. Going at it. You tweeted something about him and I immediately replied to you and I said, rest in peace to your mentions, man, because it's going to be a freaking battle out there. So,
look, I think if you can get a quarterback as talented and in his prime as Kyler Murray for literally the veteran minimum, because it makes no sense for him to sign above that, right? I tweeted that out too. Anything that he goes above the minimum, it just offsets with his guaranteed money from Arizona. So he's going to sign for the minimum. Why? Like as a team that just cycled through Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields, and Brady Cook in one season, in literally just 17 games, are we as a fan base scoffing at the idea of Kyler Murray, who has multiple years playing at a above average level, right?
And been to the playoffs.
Been to the playoffs, was a number one pick, won the Heisman, was like the best high school prospect ever. I get it. These are things that like don't matter anymore, but wow, I just don't get how people can't understand that like maybe it's a real viable option. And you know, we can talk about the character stuff and you know, maybe you want a quieter option and something that's not going to stir the pot, but I counter you with this, man. This was my main fucking counter. You can go with the quieter option, but who was the most quiet guy on the team last year? Who was it?
Justin Fields.
He played quarterback. He was Justin Fields. And how loud was that decision to go with Justin Fields criticized? Extremely loud. It has nothing to do with who the player is or how they like what they do, who they are, all this stuff. It has everything to do with how they perform. If Kyler Murray comes in and he fucking sits on his ass and plays Call of Duty and sucks, yeah, you're going to get fucking Modern Warfare 2 jokes. That's what it is. If he comes in and he plays Call of Duty and he's ripping it up for 30 touchdowns and has one of the best seasons in Jets history because he has the talent to do so, look, we might have just found an answer to quarterback for at least a couple of years for free. It costs you nothing, and then you extend him next year and you kick the can down the road, or maybe you draft one. That really opens shit up. So, look, I don't think he's going to come here. I think he's going to want to go to like Minnesota or something like that. I think it would make much more sense for him to go with like, you know, Kevin O'Connell or whoever, you know, rehabilitate his career, pull Sam Darnold, because I think he's that talented. But for us as a fan base to say no, like absolutely not, it could be a fucking disaster. The bar is in the depths of hell for this franchise. Like, how much lower can it go if Kyler Murray comes here for the minimum and gets benched? Is that where, you know, is that the bottom? Because I've seen worse. That's my case for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. Like seriously, and what bothers me and confuses me mostly is look at where the state of the team is. Look at how people were reacting to this team last year and Aaron Glenn, and it hasn't gotten worse than this, and this is rock bottom. So there's 80% of the fan base who wants the number one overall pick, and then there's the small percent who wants to win games, and it feels like 100% of people are against the idea of Kyler Murray. Why? If you want the number one pick and you think he's going to be bad, isn't that good for you? And if you want to take a risk on someone who, in the probably one of the worst quarterback markets we've seen in a long time, because people are starting to set 2-year deals for their backup quarterbacks.
They got to stop taking those. I had that thought the other day. Quarterbacks have to stop taking 2-year deals.
Yeah,
sorry,
screwing us over.
Yeah, sorry,
it's gonna force someone to pay a second round pick for Mac Jones, in which he's not worth a second round pick. So, anyways, I just find it crazy. Like again, if you asked me today who I want at quarterback, no, the answer would not be Kyler Murray. If you asked me who I wanted in that room, he wouldn't be included. But to scoff at the idea after watching the past 15 years of quarterback play, even in which we made the playoffs, our quarterback was not even that great. Mark Sanchez was very good. He made very great, very timely throws in the playoffs. He was not that great. The best quarterback season we've seen in the past 15 years is Ryan Fitzpatrick and maybe Josh McCown, and an Aaron Rodgers season with 75% of it being in garbage time. So yeah, I just don't understand how the fan base can sit here and scoff at that idea. That's That's really my gripe with it all, right? He's a talented kid. He was a Heisman winner, number 1 overall pick. In a Kingsbury offense, he looked good. Yes, he has the issues, but God, man, I just don't understand how people could go out and just say, absolutely not. I don't get it, especially with the state of the team. You'd think we were a 14-win team last year who just lost their quarterback to an Achilles tear, trying to find the replacement. It just doesn't make sense with a team that just won fucking 3 games. So, again, I'm not even... And I'm getting fired up over someone who I don't even fucking want.
Yeah.
I don't even want him.
So
Don't let go of the rope.
Don't let go of the rope. Who would you want? Who's your number 1 option right now? We'll do that.
Sure.
Because I don't know if I have a good answer for you.
As of today, and I know there's split decision on this, and it would depend on the cost of him. If you can get me for a 4th rounder, I'd do it. I think it's very highly unlikely. If I could pick my quarterback room today, I would pick McKee, Gardner Minshew, and Ty Simpson. That would be my 3. I think you got a promising guy who sat behind a Super Bowl roster, a Super Bowl quarterback. You have Gardner Minshew who's been there, can start games if Tanner McKee actually shits the bed. And then you have a promise in Ty Simpson that if this coaching staff is really falling back on their ass, can throw him in the 7 or 8 games to attempt to save something. But that's the route I would go. I want more of the promise. I also am in the camp of get me the number 1 pick, which I know is not a feasible way of thinking heading into the 26 season because
the Colts might finish the job for us.
Dude,
they're a shit
that's
show.
A whole different conversation, right? Like they just transition tagged Daniel Jones. Pierce is going to hit the market. There could be a team that comes in, swoops up Daniel Jones, and this team's left with nothing. So you're right. The Colts pick could end up being better than ours. Who knows?
That's very real, especially with how we're looking to spend money. But okay, I don't mind your room. I think I'd rather. It's amazing that we're both high on Tanner McKee. That's funny. I think I'd just roll with Tanner McKee.
Well, I would do the same thing with McKee, except I'd insert Brissett. I would be fine with either of those options.
I'm just not like I don't mind Ty Simpson. I'm not high enough to like. If it's gonna be a quarterback, dude, I need like a little bit of like belief. If Ty Simpson played his ass off and was just like the number 2 quarterback behind Mendoza, and we were going to take him at 2, and everyone was like, "That's the pick." Then I would be like, "Yeah, go and get Brissett. You don't need to tank next year. Try to win as many games as you want, whatever." Because we don't Simpson's not that guy, and there's a very real shot that this next quarterback class is sick. I think I'd rather just like roll with literally like McKee and like a competent backup. Just see if Tanner McKee's a guy. Connor Hughes said that he's not entirely sure they're going to trade him. I think Philly values him a lot or something. But if you toss them a 4, they're probably going to take you for Tanner McKee.
You think? It just with the way Connor was tweeting today, it seems like it's going to be in that 2 to 3, and that was what I wanted. Well, I wanted to preface by saying if the price is way too high, I'm completely out on him because he is a true mystery box, and the argument behind not taking him is he has no experience at the NFL level, which I completely understand. I would not.
That's the difference between like him and a Mac Jones. Mac Jones has started like 50 games. Right? He wasn't good during all of them, but like it's why teams like Fernando Mendoza, because he started like 45 games in college, 50 games in college. Like Mac Jones is worth probably a 2 right now. He played well. Looks like he's getting some good experience behind Kyle Shanahan, all that stuff. I'm not paying that, but he's probably worth a 2. Tanner McKee, dude, is worth a fucking 4 or a 5, I think. And I think they're trying to drive up the price, see if they can get a 3 for him. If they get offered a 4, I think that if we offer them one of our 4s, dude, I think they'd take it. And they have to.
Right.
It's 25, tall. It's the Frank Reich thing. Like I wouldn't be mad. And they're linked to everybody, dude. They've been linked to everybody from fucking McKee to Derek Carr to Kyler Murray to Ty Simpson. It's unbelievable. Tua
is absolutely not. I will not stand for that. The silver lining with that, though, is for guys like us who actually wouldn't mind the number 1 overall pick. I mean, I think you'd be throwing your season in the shitter, but
Tua?
That's just yeah.
I don't know. I think he's like a little bit too
good.
He's a little too good for like number 1. He'd probably just get hurt. But I want to close with this, Joey. I was talking with some of my buddies, and I just thought it was so freaking funny that we are a franchise that legitimately has gone into the past like 3 seasons with not the slightest fucking clue who's going to play quarterback. And it's like the funniest thing ever. Name me another team where that happens, right? Last year, we had no idea. We're like, maybe we get Justin Fields. Maybe they just roll with Tyrod, all this stuff. They end up getting Justin Fields. Then they end up playing, the reincarnation of Tim Boyle at quarterback for half the year. Another year, man, where we're like, what the fuck are they doing? A couple years ago, it was Zach Wilson when fucking Aaron Rodgers goes down. Before that, it's just like one of the funniest things. And it's like, you almost can't make it up, where if we win 8 games, like that's the bar. Like I think my expectations have like, when I'm daydreaming at work thinking about the Jets and how successful they can be, it's no longer, well, what if the Jets win the Super Bowl? It's, what if the Jets win 8 games and they almost make the playoffs? It's like that's what I'm daydreaming about, and like, being competitive in December and going to the games with my friends. So I don't know, man. I had that was one of my shower thoughts this week, and it was truly pathetic and hysterical, and I'm happy to have a podcast on this dumpster fire.
Yeah, well, that's the true reality of the team, and we're here. We live through it. We love it, and it's what we chose. All right, let's get into some calls. Right, we have a couple here.
We're doing the calls. Long episode today. Let's do it.
Long episode, but let's rip out the calls real quick. I think we had a couple.
Hey guys, Chris in Jersey. I called a couple weeks ago to talk about Breece Hall. This week I was wondering, do you think there's a world where Glenn could be fired and Muji would stay? I know the PR around the two is completely different. Muji's made a lot of savvy trades. A lot of people want Glenn out. The nuance in the situation is probably Glenn has a lot more to do with personnel than we know, maybe. So I'm not sure what I think about it, but do you think there's it's possible where if Glenn is fired, where they would still retain Muji? Thanks for listening. I'll hang up.
Thanks. That was a good question. I think that is very real. I think literally great timing on that too. I think Rich Cimini actually said like they're not attached to the hip on Jake Aspen's show.
Yeah,
today.
He did say that today. Yep.
He said like I think they view Muji as potentially like a longer term, executive in the organization. He's 39, learning on the job, and I mean, Joey, I don't know what the power dynamic is and who's really, really like calling the shots, but I think Muji's done good work in terms of like leveraging his connections, making trades. He's not afraid to fucking pull the trigger on some big trades. And I mean, assuming Glenn is the coach and Darren Muji is the GM and, he's the one making these calls and stuff. I mean, I think he's done a fantastic job. Like, nailed the draft last year, I would say. Not nailed, but like did a good job in the draft last year outside the back half. Nailed the trades to the point where we're seeing tweets about A.J. Brown, the Eagles wanting a Quinnen Williams type package for A.J. Brown. And Max Crosby, they want 2 firsts and a player. Does that sound familiar? Does that package sound familiar to you? That's literally the Sauce Gardner deal. I think he fucking killed those trades. I think he's made great moves for Juwan Briggs, Jarvis Brownlee, Harrison Phillips. And I think this, the Jermaine trade was great too. Like, he's 39, dude. I think, and listen, if Kevin O'Connell shakes free from Minnesota and they have a shit year, guess who was his college roommate? It was Darren Muji. So I would keep him. If they fire Glenn, I would keep him.
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for the call, Chris. And
yes,
I think there is a world where he stays. And I think the one thing I wanted to bring up was Glenn might be the CEO, the guy calling the shots. At the end of the day, Glenn would say, "Hey, Muji. Hey, Darren, let's go out and get this." Yeah, he calls him by his last name.
Yo, D.
Yo, D. I'm sure this is how it goes. Glenn goes, "Hey, I think we need the X, Y, and Z for the defense. Like, I want to turn this into this." Darren Muji is the guy who is pulling those deals. Like, it'd be one thing if he was just going out, and his trades are unique. They're savvy. They're flipping picks for players that are either going to be on expired contracts, or a situation with Briggs where there's too many guys in the room. Like, we haven't really seen that a ton in Jets land. So I think with the way that that's laid out, Glenn is not the one who's, I think, coming up with these comp packages for these players. I think that's all Muji. So I think there is really a world where he could stay over Glenn or after Glenn if Glenn gets fired. All right, we have one more voicemail. Let's get to it.
Hey Tony, this is Dean in Brooklyn. I just can't believe a lot of you people want a black Tyrion Lannister as your quarterback. Kyler Murray cannot play ball. You hear me?
Don't let go of the rope.
Tyrion Lannister. That's insane. Dean, thanks for the call, man. I don't know. I feel like we talked about that on the episode today. I think Kyler Murray would be an interesting option for the team, and I don't know about Tyrion Lannister. That's hysterical.
That is great. All right, well,
that's about it. That's all I got.
Yeah, we went long today, man. We weren't really long, but seriously, this is where we're going to get into the meat and potatoes next week.
Yes. All right, we gotta hammer this out. We will be doing emergency podcast night of. Probably like day one of free agency, dude. We'll probably have to do an emergency pod. Like I would expect next week, you might hear from one of us. You might hear from both of us. Probably like 3 or 4 times. I would think.
I would say even if it's a minor signing and one of us wants to hop on and do 20 minutes or 10 minutes, that's probably what's going to happen. So
can't wait.
I'm ready for this free agency period. I love how it used to become free agency starts Wednesday. Now it's like the tampering period and
Monday.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying like it's official, I think, on Wednesday. Like
Wednesday,
official. But man, Anthony Barr is forever ruined that for me, that tampering period, because how excited we were when we signed him.
One of the best tweets I've ever seen before we close, one of the best tweets I've ever seen was somebody wishing, someone says, "Happy at Anthony Barr, happy Easter, you fucking pussy." And it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen because he backed out on the Jets contract. And every year I wish Anthony Barr a happy Easter.
That's great. We make sure to go wish Anthony Barr a happy Easter this year. Thanks for listening. As always, go follow us on Twitter at First Class Pod. You know, the one in the name, that whole deal. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Patreon. Go follow it all. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll talk to you next week a bunch, and go Jets.